You cannot scale DevSecOps with tools alone. You cannot mandate it through policy alone. And you certainly cannot delegate it entirely to engineering. If you are a leader, DevSecOps must begin as a vision, not a pipeline configuration. This lecture is about helping you translate boardroom level cybersecurity expectations into practical, sustainable engineering reality. Because unless strategy connects to execution, DevSecOps remains a buzzword. When organizations say they are doing DevSecOps, they often mean they have purchased scanning tools or integrated security checks into CI/CD pipelines. That is not vision, that is activity. Vision answers deeper questions. What level of risk is acceptable in your digital products? What does secure by design mean in your organization? How fast should vulnerability remediation occur? How do you balance speed with resilience? What security outcomes are non-negotiable? If these answers are not clear at leadership level, engineering teams will make their own assumptions, and assumptions vary. Your role is to define the direction so that engineering does not operate in ambiguity. Without vision, DevSecOps becomes fragmented automation. DevSecOps is not a technical transformation. It is a business resilience strategy. If your organization is pursuing digital transformation, cloud migration, platform modernization, AI adoption, or API-driven ecosystems, your attack surface expands automatically. You cannot pursue aggressive digital growth without embedding security into delivery pipelines. At board level, discussions revolve around growth, innovation, shareholder value, regulatory risk, reputation, and operational continuity. DevSecOps is the mechanism that ensures secure innovation. When you articulate DevSecOps in terms of reduced breach likelihood, faster recovery capability, regulatory alignment, customer trust protection, predictable risk management, it moves from engineering initiative to strategic necessity. Your vision must frame DevSecOps as business protection, not developer burden. A strong DevSecOps vision begins with defined outcomes, not vague aspirations like improve security, but measurable expectations such as critical vulnerabilities must be remediated within defined timeframes. All production workloads must have defined security baselines. Every release must have automated security validation. Software supply chain visibility must be maintained. Privilege access must follow least privilege principles. When you define outcomes, engineering teams can align pipelines accordingly. Without outcome clarity, teams focus on throughput, not threat mitigation. Leadership clarity drives engineering precision. Risk appetite is often discussed in board meetings, but rarely translated into pipeline behavior. If your organization has low tolerance for data breaches, that must reflect in mandatory security testing thresholds, automated policy enforcement in infrastructure code, secrets management standards, identity-first architecture patterns, logging and monitoring requirements. Guardrails are not about restricting engineers. They are about preventing catastrophic deviation. For example, if your vision states that no production workload should be internet exposed without defined controls, that expectation must be embedded into cloud deployment policies. Engineering executes what leadership formalizes. Without guardrails, risk appetite remains theoretical. DevSecOps vision fails when incentives conflict. If developers are rewarded solely on speed, they optimize speed. If security teams are measured only on audit findings, they optimize compliance documentation. If operations teams are measured only on uptime, they resist change. You must align performance indicators so that secure delivery is shared responsibility. For example, include security metrics in engineering scorecards. Include deployment efficiency metrics in security objectives. Include resilience metrics in operational KPIs. When incentives align, collaboration becomes natural. When incentives diverge, friction increases. Vision becomes real when it shapes behavior. DevSecOps cannot be a middle management initiative. It must have visible executive sponsorship. If senior leadership communicates that secure delivery is a strategic priority, teams listen differently. Your messaging should reinforce security is everyone's responsibility. Secure coding is part of engineering excellence. Compliance is not optional. Risk decisions are business decisions. When leaders consistently communicate these principles, culture shifts. Without sponsorship, DevSecOps becomes another technical program competing for attention. Culture is the bridge between strategy and execution. If your organization treats security as interruption, DevSecOps will struggle. If your organization treats security as engineering quality, DevSecOps thrives. You shape culture by encouraging threat modeling at design stages, recognizing teams that proactively reduce risk, promoting security champions within engineering, funding training and awareness programs, ensuring security reviews are collaborative, not adversarial. Culture change does not happen overnight, but consistent leadership signals build momentum. When security becomes part of professional pride, not compliance fear, transformation accelerates. Vision must reflect in architecture patterns. If your organization uses cloud platforms, your architectural blueprints must define identity-centric access control, zero trust principles, secure API design, data encryption standards, logging and telemetry expectations, network segmentation models. Engineering teams should not guess how to design securely. Provide reusable pre-approved patterns. Standardization reduces friction. Friction reduction accelerates adoption. DevSecOps vision becomes tangible when architecture supports it. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. Your DevSecOps vision must include risk-based metrics visible at executive level. Examples include mean time to remediate vulnerabilities, percentage of builds passing security validation, open source dependency risk exposure, cloud misconfiguration trends, privilege access, sprawl indicators, security incident frequency linked to development changes. When security metrics sit alongside deployment metrics, leaders gain holistic visibility. Transformation without measurement is guesswork. One of your most critical responsibilities is translation. Board members speak in terms of risk exposure, regulatory impact, and reputational damage. Engineers speak in terms of pipelines, container images, pull requests, and infrastructure templates. Your role is to connect these worlds. When the board asks, "Are we protected against supply chain attacks?" engineering response should reflect automated dependency scanning, SBOM generation, artifact integrity verification, defined remediation SLAs. That alignment does not happen naturally. It requires deliberate governance design. When board expectations map directly to engineering controls, DevSecOps becomes strategic infrastructure. It is tempting to launch DevSecOps by procuring tools. But without a clear vision, tools become fragmented. Different teams select different scanners. Alerts overwhelm developers. False positives erode trust. Dashboards multiply without clarity. Start with principles. Define standards. Establish accountability. Then choose tooling that supports the vision. Technology should enable leadership intent, not replace it. DevSecOps vision must be ambitious but realistic. Do not attempt to transform everything at once. Identify high-risk domains. Prioritize critical workloads. Define phased adoption models. Communicate clearly what is changing, why it matters, how success will be measured, what support is available. Change fails when communication is inconsistent. Leaders must remain visible throughout transformation, not only at launch. DevSecOps vision must reflect in governance structures. Consider security architecture review boards aligned to agile cadence. risk acceptance processes integrated into release approvals, policy as code mechanisms for automated enforcement, compliance reporting linked to pipeline telemetry. Governance should not slow delivery, it should scale confidence. When governance is automated and transparent, engineering teams experience clarity instead of constraint. Your behavior influences adoption. If you prioritize feature velocity in executive updates but ignore security posture, teams notice. If you ask about resilience metrics alongside delivery milestones, teams notice. If you publicly support secure engineering investments, teams notice. Leadership consistency builds credibility. Vision without reinforcement fades quickly. DevSecOps is not a one-time program. Threat landscapes evolve. Technologies change. Business models expand. Your vision must adapt. Regularly review emerging threats, regulatory changes, cloud architecture shifts, AI-driven development risk, supply chain exposure trends. Sustainable DevSecOps requires continuous strategic oversight. Transformation is not an event, it is a discipline. Pause and ask yourself, is DevSecOps defined clearly in your organization? Can you articulate its business value confidently? Are engineering teams aligned to explicit security outcomes? Do executive dashboards reflect delivery risk? Is security embedded into architecture standards? If any of these areas lack clarity, your DevSecOps journey is still forming. And clarity is the foundation of resilience. If this lecture has helped you see DevSecOps as more than pipeline automation, take the next step. Schedule a leadership discussion on defining clear security outcomes. Review your current DevOps metrics and assess whether risk visibility is present. Align incentives across engineering, operations, and security. Communicate your expectations clearly and consistently. If you found value in this session, subscribe to the DevSecOps for Leaders playlist, like this video so it reaches more decision makers, and share your perspective in the comments. What challenges are you facing when translating boardroom expectations into engineering execution? In the next lecture, you will explore how to design a secure SDLC that leaders can govern effectively without slowing innovation.